Global warming and greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is the process in which the emission of infrared radiation by the atmosphere warms planet's surface. Of the sunlight that falls on the Earth's surface, approximately 40% of that energy is re-radiated upward into the atmosphere in the form of a long-wave radiation. Approximately 3/4 of that upward radiated long-wave energy is absorbed by water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, nitrous oxide, and other greenhouse gases of the atmospheric layer. In an ideal condition, about 50% of the long-wave emission is re-radiated back towards the Earth. As a result, the Earth gets heated. The mechanism is named after the similar effect of solar radiation passing through glass and warming a greenhouse. This structure has the property of allowing the short-wave radiation from the sun to come in, while it prevents the long-wave terrestrial radiation from inside to escape. Thus, the temperature inside the greenhouse is much higher than outside always. The atmosphere also acts more or less like a greenhouse, allowing the short-wave solar radiation to pass through it without much absorption and preventing the long-wave terrestrial radiation from escaping out of it. Carbon dioxide and water vapor and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere absorb the heat energy. When the content of carbon dioxide and dust particles in the atmosphere increases, naturally, the atmosphere tends to retain more and more heat energy. This additional heat energy, of course, is radiated back to Earth's surface. Thus, it increases the temperature. The present industrial, vehicle, and various other emissions have made the atmosphere absorb more and more heat, only to be reflected back to the Earth's surface in an excessive manner. Added to this is a decreasing content of water vapor, which is a result of increasing deforestation. Due to this, there is a less and less rainfall, which does not help reduce the heat radiation coming from atmosphere. Destruction of ozone layer in the atmosphere is another reason for increasing the heat. Ozone layer acts as a shield against harmful ultraviolet rays coming from the sun. However, man-made chemicals such as CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, are known to have a very dramatic influence on ozone levels too. CFCs used in aerosol propellants, refrigerators, foams, and industrial processes have caused holes in the ozone layers. Thus, they have exposed the Earth to direct radiation from the sun. Thus, excessive heating of Earth's surface has led to so-called global warming. As a part of Montreal Protocol to protect ozone layer, Environmental Ministry of Government of India has set up the ozone cell to look after and to render necessary services to implement the protocol. Environmental Ministry has undertaken the implementation of Montreal Protocol provisions, reviewing various policy and implementation options, and also project approvals and project monitoring in India. The effects of global warming has many disastrous effects on the life on Earth. We have started experiencing them in our day-to-day life these days. Global warming has led to melting of polar ice caps and also glaciers on big mountains including Himalayas. As a result, the sea level is increasing, rivers are flooding the land. Globally, millions of acres of land are being lost due to floods. Many islands and coastal areas have also got submerged. In Indian context, many Sundarban islands have been submerged. Increased landslides and flooding in the river basins are common these days. Most worrying impacts are huge loss of our valuable agricultural land due to floods and unpredictable weather, including uncertain rainfall. The life-supporting agricultural produce such as rice and wheat will be drastically affected. The livelihood of large population, especially in India and China, who depend mainly on agriculture, will be lost. The economic prosperity of the world at large, therefore, is in jeopardy. Weather conditions would become less predictable and there would be frequent occurrence of extreme weather events including heat waves, droughts, and heavy rainfall. Tropical diseases such as malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, and encephalitis can spread all over the world, and it can also spread skin diseases. This will have adverse effect on the health and life span of human beings on the Earth's surface in general. To reduce the impact of climate change, there can be two approaches. One is mitigation and second is adaptation to climate change. Mitigation efforts of global warming attempt to prevent hazards from developing into disasters altogether or reduce the effects of disasters when they occur. Adaptation to climatic change, on the other hand, is rather difficult and uncertain. We are not just equipped to change ourselves to serious climatic changes. It is important, therefore, to move away from coal and fossil fuels and instead generate renewable energy using other sources such as solar energy, wind energy, etc. Migration of coastal population, increasing public transportation, and forestry are some of the adaptation measures we can follow. Nearly 33% of our land needs to be covered with forest. At present, however, in India, forest land is only 20%. So the challenge, especially in India here, is to find more land which can be converted into forests. We also need to make a disaster management plan and create awareness amongst people to adapt to climate change.